Coffee is 98% water, and water is full of minerals. However, not all water is the same, and in fact, almost all water is quite a bit different. My tap water probably doesn't taste anything like your tap water, and let's not even start on the differences between bottled waters. The point is, water, like everything else, has a wide range of flavor, and with how vital of an ingredient it is to brewing coffee, it's important to understand how to use it to get the most out of your cup.
But also, let me be honest with you. I have nearly failed every chemistry class I have ever taken, and as much as I have tried to get water chemistry to soak into my brain, no pun intended, it's never really worked. So today I'm going to show you the approach that I use that both works for my brain, but also makes some really delicious coffee. In short, this is water chemistry for coffee for dummies like me. Hello there. Today we're going to be honing in on a very important yet sometimes overlooked element of coffee, which is in fact the water that we use when brewing it. Here is our agenda today. We are going to start off by talking about the types of minerals I use and how I use them. We are then going to brew coffee. We're going to mineralize it a couple different ways, and also going to talk a little bit about water for espresso. It's going to be very fun. I am excited to drink coffee. Let's just begin. Now, before we get too deep into everything, I want to give a huge thank you to Apex Lab for sponsoring today's video. You have probably seen these products before. I've been using them for a long time, and you might have seen them in past How I Brew videos in the last year or so. Apex is a company out of Australia that specifically makes mineral concentrates for coffee water. I first became aware of them in relationship to coffee competition circles, specifically the Brewer's Cup, where Apex became a pretty fast favorite among competitors. I've been using Apex minerals for a long time now, and interestingly enough, this is the first style of mineralization that has really clicked with my more, for lack of a better word, artsy-fartsy, like loosey-goosey brain in thinking about water chemistry as a variable in the same way that we think about things like agitation and grind size and temperature. So, very excited. What shall we do first? I gave us an agenda. I should know what we're doing first. Typically, when we make water for coffee, it all happens prior to actually brewing the coffee. You will start with distilled water. You will have your minerals in some sort of powdered form. You'll dissolve the two together, and then you'll go on to add it to your kettle and brew your cup. Today, we are going to be doing the inverse of that. Our coffee water today isn't going to fully exist until after the brew is finished, because we're going to be doing something called post-brew mineralization. And I think the easiest way to think about this is like more akin to cooking than it is to like kind of the hard science of coffee water composition. If you've ever read a recipe before, you have probably seen the phrase season to taste with salt and pepper, and that is essentially what we are going to be doing here today. Now, these are the three mineral concentrates we're going to be using today, and let's talk first about what they are and what they do before we get into actually using them. Because once you kind of understand the base profiles here, you really have full artistic and sensory freedom to mix and match them however you want. When adding minerals to our finished coffee or even our coffee brewing water, I don't want you to think about it as adding flavoring. What we are doing is adding minerals in order to enhance or balance what already exists in the cup, and in order to really allow the coffee to shine as much as possible. We're never looking to cover up, hide, mask what is already in the coffee. Instead, we're looking to open it up using minerals that are formulated to target specific tactile and sensory characteristics. First things first, we have a concentrate called tonic. For all of you nerds, let me tell you what's in it. Water, magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, sodium bicarbonate, and potassium bicarbonate. Tonic, as the name might suggest, is formulated to enhance the more juicy and acidic characteristics in coffee. So this is a really great kind of balancing addition to more washed or floral coffees. Next up, we have lilac. I'll read the ingredients list for all of these actually. Water, magnesium sulfate, magnesium chloride, potassium bicarbonate, and sodium chloride. Try saying that 3 times fast. Lilac, appropriately named, targets more floral and silky characteristics in coffee, so this is really great for honey processed coffees. This is also great if you have a coffee that's floral that you really want to open up by just boosting that a little bit. that's where this comes in. And then my all-time favorite, my ride or die here, we have jam. Jam is your best friend when it comes to sweetness and creaminess in coffee. I use this so much. This is a new bottle that I opened just because I crush these so quickly. Jam is specifically made to boost sweetness and roundness and tactile. It's really, really great for naturally processed coffees or coffees that have undergone more advanced fermentation. Frankly, I don't think there's a coffee that I've brewed in the past, like half of a year that hasn't had at least some amount of jam in it. Now, for our example coffee here, I'm actually very, very excited to drink this. This is from Hydrangea Roasters out of Berkeley. This is from Jameson Savage. This is a washed Panamanian Caturra. So it's a really nice coffee. And I also think it's going to be a really nice foundation for some flavor play that only I will get to enjoy, which is so sad. I truly wish I could send this to all of you through the screen. As I mentioned briefly before, in traditional mineralization, you will add your minerals to your water, dissolve it, and then add it to your kettle. We are doing the opposite here. So we are starting with inside the kettle, either demineralized or distilled water. Typically, this is not recommended as it will yield you a cup that is pretty flat and not super vibrant, to say the least. However, since we're adding all of our minerals at the end, we want to kind of give ourselves as neutral of a canvas as possible. Something you can do as well, if you live in an area where you have pretty soft tap water or drinking water, something that's pretty pleasant to drink, you can also use that and then still add your minerals and it'll be super tasty. For example here, I live in Portland, Oregon. We are lucky enough to have relatively soft and very delicious tap water. I brew with it all the time, just out of the tap, and then do post mineralization, and it is super tasty. So you kind of have two routes to go here, but make sure whatever you're using is relatively soft or demineralized. Okay, we're gonna use a V60 today. I don't know, it's my fave. I use it every day. Coffee in. For our example today, I'm gonna brew a pretty standard single cup of coffee. So I have 15 grams of ground coffee. We'll be brewing with approximately 250 mils or grams of water. Okay, we've got a nice cup of coffee. Now the first thing we're gonna do is taste our coffee, just a little bit to see where our baseline is. Interestingly enough, this already has a really nice round, smooth body and tactile to it. Definitely kind of an orange citrus flavor that is front and forward. There's a little bit of florality, almost like jasmine flavor in here, but it's a little bit muted. So with that being said, here's kind of my strategy for now mineralizing this brew. Already in this cup, there's a really nice, round, sweet, and almost creamy tactile in here. So I don't see us relying heavily on jam. However, one of the things that was immediate to me is that there are florals in this cup that I think could shine a little bit more, which off the bat means we're going to be using some lilac. But additionally, I want to kind of brighten that acidity because right now this is really smooth. It's very pleasant. However, there isn't a lot of balance between the sweetness and everything else that's playing in here. Now let's talk about amounts here for a minute. Now, our concentrate bottles come with little droppers, so we will be measuring the amount that we add by the number of drops. For a 200 to 250 ml cup like this, I never really add more than 10 drops. That's kind of the upper limit. However, we always want to start with less and increase as we go. So I'm first just going to decide kind of the ratio of what I want to use here. The florals in this coffee are the main thing I want to target. So we're going to be starting off with lilac as our base concentrate, and we'll use slightly less of tonic. This is all trial and error and experience having used these for a long time, but what I think is going to be a good base is 3 drops of lilac, 2 drops of tonic, and then we'll taste. And you still get to at least feel like you are utilizing science, even if we are thinking about this in a more cooking-centric way. Give this all a little swirl. Let's taste again. Off the bat, just so much better. This is, I mean, first of all, we are working with a delicious coffee that doesn't hurt anything at all, but this is so much more vibrant and juicy and just alive in the cup. This is delicious. I could stop here. However, for my own personal preference here, I'm gonna add one more drop of lilac, and we're actually gonna add a single drop of jam as well. Always shake these before you use them, jam especially. A little swirl, and then we taste. This is a daily drinker for me. I could have a cup of this every single morning and be such a happy camper. And that is how I brew and mineralize water for filter coffee. Now, this was a lot of me talking at you just to kind of give you all the things that I think about during this process, but really and truly, this becomes such an intuitive thing once you get in the flow and habit of it. I think also, at least for me, mineralizing post-brew has been a really, really good skill building exercise for my own palate and sensory skills, because it really forces you to taste a coffee and to really think about what is currently happening in the cup and how you might want to enhance, balance, or change it. There are two main ways I think you can think about this as you approach your cup of coffee. You can take a sip and say, hey, I really like what is happening in here. I just want to open everything up and make it a little bit more bright. In that case, you would probably be looking at adding a mineral concentrate that is more complementary in profile. Or the other way you could go is, say you have a coffee that is very bright and acidic and kind of punchy off the bat. You can think about these concentrates as a way to kind of temper or balance that. So something like jam or maybe a little bit more of the lilac would be very complementary and bring balance to that bright acidity. That's filter coffee. Real fast before we wrap up today, let me show you how to use these with espresso real fast. Now, making and using water that is tailored for an espresso machine is important not just for the kind of flavor and sensory aspect of it all, but also from a very mechanical aspect, particularly if you have very hard water that comes out of your taps. Hard water will lead to the rapid development of mineral buildup in your machine, lime scale, all of those things that make your machine not work very long and impact your extraction quite a bit. It's funny, I was talking while I was grinding this coffee and I just completely put it in the wrong grinder. So I guess I'm making myself a second cup of filter later. And there are really only two ways that your water can get into your espresso machine. You either have something that is plumbed in from, say, a water line or filtration system, or you have a pre-filled basin or water tank that gets attached to your machine. But either way, it's a large amount of water and it makes it difficult to really tailor your water per coffee. So if you're someone who switches up your espresso a lot or pulls a bunch of single origins, you're kind of left working with the same profile every time, which can be really nice and easy. But let's say you're someone like me who wants to really fiddle with flavors and really get the best out of everything every time. We can solve that. We have our freshly pulled espresso, and you already know what we're about to do. As with all things, we taste first. This is a pretty true medium roast coffee. This is also a house espresso blend, so it's a pretty standard blend of washed and natural coffees. It's got a lot of body and texture and kind of creaminess to it already. I want to bump the acidity just a little bit, so we're gonna add some tonic to this. With espresso shots, you really only want to use 1 to 3 drops at most. Typically, I'm like a happy medium. I usually use 2 of whatever I'm using. Stir, 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 stir. Sometimes I drink just a lovely, juicy, medium roast espresso, and I think, what more could I possibly want? Regardless, this was a crash course in Morgan's coffee water for dummies. Again, a massive thank you to Apex Lab for sponsoring today's video. If you want to pick up any of these minerals or learn more about their processes or different recipes for mineralizing, I will link that all in the description. Really, truly, these are products that I have been using for a super long time. And while I'm grateful for the sponsorship, I genuinely just get excited to talk about this style of mineralization, vulnerably here at the end. For those of you who are still with me, I historically have a brain that does not connect well with math or chemistry or science, and that has always really felt like in my own personal weak point, especially when it comes to coffee, as coffee is a very data and science driven study when you get down to it. However, thinking about mineralizing and water for coffee in this slightly different format that's more akin to seasoning and cooking, which are two things that I really like to do, for me, that made me feel like I could actually approach this and understand it. And I think that is really cool, and I get excited that that might work also for one of you. So with that being said, I've got multiple coffees to finish drinking, so I'll take these. I will see you all next time. I hope you had a good day. Goodbye, everyone.